Okay. I thought I'd start with saying Yaksham La. Istanbul is such a beautiful place. I've been staying here now for 6 months and it's breathtaking. And the complexity of this city and the way it's spontaneous is built in such a short time is amazing. Think about it, you know, it's like in 1982 you were like 2 million people. And now you're like, well, Wikipedia says 15 million people, but I guess it must be more. I guess they didn't count the tourists and the dogs and the cats. Okay, a little bit about myself. My name is Tobias Barvik. I'm actually Norwegian. I'm the creative director of a company in Norway called Molte, and I'm the co-founder of Superreal. I'm an educated film director, so I don't do games. That's not my background. So I've been, I'm an educated film director and a script writer, and I've been doing directing and producing corporate films and TV commercials since '98. Starting following the VR tech development as Pomolucky started his Kickstarter. So who are we? Molte is a Norwegian company located both in Istanbul and in Oslo. Molte has been in Istanbul running its business for 10 years. I had this written down here, so 10 years, mainly Scandinavian and international clients. Traditionally, we've been doing like graphic designs, web interactive designs, 2D and 3D motion graphics, and stuff like that. And our clients have mainly been tech clients, health clients, and engineering companies. And logically, eventually, the VR question kept popping up from our clients. They are as interested as we are, actually. And so we did the only natural thing we could do as a company. We started looking into VR. So we took our clients seriously. We started buying a couple of DK2 headsets, talking with people, making the network and all that. And finally, we made Superreal. And Superreal is a small breakup company from the Molte company. We're using the same resources, and then we're adding on those resources with Unity and Unreal resources. But basically, we're using the same skills that we have within Molte to do Superreal. And it's good for clients also to know that we're a dedicated VR company. It's quite hard sell to go out there and say, yeah, we do web design and then we do VR. It doesn't really work, so it's easier to promote. So what do? We do a lot, but we don't do games. And I'm going to talk a lot about that because that's the whole presentation actually. VR is, many people think about VR as something game related. No, it's not. It's a new tech. It's not game related at all. It's just a new technology. So we produce VR content for corporate industries and brands. And I will talk about some of our projects that we've done. We have 3, so I'll do that at the end. We'll see how much time we get. Currently we're working on DK2s and Samsung Gear VR. But like everyone else, we want to do the HTC Vive and the Consumer Rift when we get our hands on that. The VR values. I guess that all of you guys know about like the core elements of the VR technology that makes it, very different from anything else. And there's been a lot of talk about it already. So I don't want to go through it all in depth, but I'll talk about some points of it. But of course I think that it's important to understand that if you know the strength of VR and you play on those strengths, then you will create great VR products. And if you don't understand how these strengths are related to your client and the market the client is living in, then you want to play on those strengths in the right way, and then you make like maybe good or mediocre VR. So the first strength is of course presence. And you probably heard about true presence and the difference between presence and true presence. Presence is like, feeling that you're there. You feel the presence that you're there. True presence is when your brain thinks that you actually are there. When your brain tells you, shit, I'm here. And have you heard about an amusement VR park called The Void?
Yes.
Yeah, so The Void has been experiencing a lot of true presence, because what they're actually doing is that they're building up a physical world, and then they map a VR world on top of that, so when you reach out to touch the door, it's there, and you can open it and you can go through. And so it generates a lot of true present moments. And whenever you have a couple of true present moments, your brain kind of accepts that the rest of the presentation or the rest of your product has that same true feeling, even though you only have one small moment. So, we're planning in several projects to try to use that even in the simplest way. I mean, there's a railing there, you grab out, you touch it, it's there in the physical world. And that will add to the quality of the product, even though it's a tiny, tiny detail. So presence. And then the wide field of view is very important for many of our clients. And of course, the true understanding of the room you're in. It's like, I guess when you're playing, I've been playing a lot of computer games, and sometimes I get lost. You turn around and left is right and right is left, and where the fuck did you come from? And how did you get here? And in the real world, your brain will kind of map up, okay, so I'm walking through the city, and I took a left here, and you're using all these visual cues, and inside your head, there's a map getting drawn as you progress through the city. And so when you turn around and you want to go back, you know where it came from. But that doesn't work in a game when you're doing 3D on a 2D screen. But it works in VR. And it's stuff like that will help a lot of our clients, and I'll get back to that later on. Then you have something that I think is really, really unique, and that is experience-based episodic memory. So there are many different types of memory in your head, processing at the same time. But in general, you can divide it into two. And the one is experience-based memory, and the other is the memory that keeps, sorting facts, like technical stuff. And it's a huge difference, because the experience-based memory activates your whole brain. And so it's memory that lives inside your head for a long, long time, and you can take it with you for a lifetime. I mean, if you experience something really, really bad, it gets stuck, and it's stuck there forever. And so, so it's a more important way of remembering stuff, or what do you call it? Branding your life, basically, with an experience, than if you watch it on the screen. For example, if I were to put you into a cinema, and I show you someone taking a shopping cart down the aisle at the shopping center, and they're putting stuff into their shopping cart, and they put more stuff, and you watch that, and you go like, yeah, okay, and then a couple of hours later, you forgot about it. Okay, fine. But if I ask you to close your eyes and think about the last time you did shopping, and you start remembering, oh yeah, I went down that aisle, and I picked up those things, and then I went there, and I did that, and you remember all the details. If it's 2 days ago, it doesn't matter. You still remember what you did the last time you went shopping. So that's the difference between seeing something flat on the screen, technical memory, and experiencing it as experience-based episodic memory. So, how does this help for people that are not doing gaming? Well, here's an example. A lot of products are stupid. They don't actually have any value. So you need to add the value artificially. One example could be perfume. Perfume is basically scented alcohol in nice bottles, right? So what's the price on that? What's it worth? Nothing. It's worth nothing.
Smell.
Yeah, well, it's a nice smell. Yeah. So you could have some, you could probably buy some really nice quality smell on bottle for, you know, I don't know, under $1, I guess. But if you buy Hugo Boss for Man, you know, it's a completely different story because it's a high value brand. And so where does this value come from? What's the value of that brand? Well, if you see Hugo Boss television commercial, it will probably, I'll try and act out. It will probably be a really handsome man, just like me, right? And the doors open, and he walks in his suit, right? And he's really cool. And there's a party going on. It's like a luxury villa or something. There's a party going on. And all the ladies in the room go, and they really want him, and you can see it in their eyes, and it's like, oh, I want to go to bed with you. You're so fucking amazing. And so we watch that on telly. We watch that on telly as a commercial, and we go, yeah, right. That ain't gonna happen, that's stupid. That's, you know, you're trying to convince me of something that I don't really believe. That this smelly water that you put on will make all the women go, it ain't that. But when you put this scenario into VR, everything magically changes. Because then you are that guy, and the doors opens, and you walk in your suit, and for some strange reason, you don't know why, but all the women are going like, wow, looking at you like that. And then you take off your VR headset, and you're back in the real world, and you're going, it was all fake. And your brain is going, I remember that. I remember that experience. So intellectually, you think that, yeah, it was all fake, but your brain will continue to remember it. And when you close your eyes, and when you're thinking back, it will be that same fantastic feeling every time. And it will stay for you for the rest of your life. Especially if this were the first brand giving you your first VR experience in high definition with perfect motion tracking and, you know, state-of-the-art quality VR. That experience will stick with you for life. And that product will have you as a client or a customer forever. So, for who are we trying to make VR? Where is this market? Well, there are many potential markets. I'll try to list some quickly, but there is a lot of markets that is not here, mainly because they are so small that we didn't list them, or because they don't exist, or we don't see them, or, you know, VR is a new product. Stuff is happening all the time, and markets are popping up everywhere. That, you know, people need VR that we didn't think of. Yeah, so, wait, should I go back here? I just want to check a bit here. Okay, so the markets. Media and entertainment, well, that's the obvious one. Training and education, recruiting, healthcare, travel, design, architecture and engineering, real estate, social media, e-commerce, museums and digital conservation, and data visualization and operations. So, I mean, a lot of these markets are fairly known. It's not like shocking that you're in these markets. So if you break them down even further, you go into media and entertainment, and what is the first thing you find in media and entertainment, potentially, as a big market?
Think again.
Porn. Then you have sports and esports, and then you have games. And then you have experiences and exhibitions and arts and events, and live concerts and shows and theaters and theme parks. I want to stress the fact about theater. I'm a film director myself. I'm going to say something now that makes me less valuable for you guys, and it's that film director sucks at VR. If you want to have a good director, find yourself one of the best theater directors. Because VR has more in common with theater when you're directing than film. Film is expression on a two-dimensional flat surface, while theater directing is how to occupy a full space with actions and making sure that you, when you're sitting down in the audience, are looking in the right direction when stuff is happening and getting the action. Theater directors are going to make millions. Film directors, they're dead. Well, they're done when film is done. Journalism, documentary storytelling, we see a lot about that. There's a big one now from Syria. There's also a big one done on the Palestine conflict. So yeah, it's basically journalism, documentary storytelling from conflict areas. Also, the United Nations did one where they documented a camp, a refugee camp, and they put gear VRs on the heads of all the top politicians. And you know, it's a shocking experience to suddenly be standing in a refugee camp. So it's great. Right. The next part. Oh, I'm really looking forward to tell you this next bit, because this next bit is like if you can wrap your head around it. It's so fucking amazing. You love it, and you will start afterwards. You can come and thank me for saying all this, and then you will go home and you'll sleep and you think, maybe I won't go into games at all. Maybe I'll do something completely different. So we're going to talk about this. Actually, I'll go back in and do like that. Okay. So there are 155 million Americans who play games in the USA. That's a lot of people. 155 million people are playing games in USA alone. That's good. So on the average, the American gamer is 35 years old. Yeah. And last year, the total gaming market in the US on sold games in shops were $15.4 billion. $15.4 billion. That's a lot of money, especially if you're a student and you have none. Right? Yeah, okay. So if you include the hardware business, I mean, if you want to play games, you need a graphics card, you need a screen, and you need a, you know. So if you include all the hardware, you can push this number up to $22.4 billion American dollars. Anyone have any idea what I'm going to say now? Any guess what I'm going to tell you? Luxury shopping, that means statistically that's handbags, nice shoes, a Rolex, you know, stuff that you really don't need. It doesn't include perfume, but it's the same type of idea. You take something made of cow skin and then you sell it expensively, right? Why do we sell it expensively? Because we have the added value. The extra value, which is fake, it's not there, it's added, right? So what was the number again? So 15.4 billion American dollars in games. And $74 billion in purses and shoes. $15 in games, $72 billion in that stuff. That's amazing. And you know what the best part is? That's a tiny market. It's still a tiny market. Because if you move over to the oil industry, or the weapons industry, then you're talking like so much money that you can do whatever. You can start inventing your own VR technology. You don't have to use anybody else's technology. Make your own, right? And the best part is, no matter which market we go into with VR technology, we need you guys in all these markets to make anything. We can't make jack shit without people like you. So you're going from being this small group of people making games to being one of the hottest commodities on the market as soon as the market just wakes up. The problem is that, you know, right now there is no market. You can't buy anything of what we're talking about. But it's a bright future for you guys. So the next one was education and training. Yeah, what is that? Well, operating any kind of machinery. In the future, you can't even learn how to drive a car before you're doing like 80 hours of VR driving a car first. If you're going to work in a factory, you have to learn all the machinery. What? And it's fairly simple stuff, you know? It's not advanced designing fucking great games that you don't know if you're going to sell or not. You know, it's like you follow the rule book for how to drive a car, and then you make the program, and the state decides how it's going to be. Military, police, fire departments, they all need to exercise stuff that they don't want to exercise in public, that is dangerous or complicated to train on. Like public evacuation is a good example. How do you simulate, or how do you train public, evacuation of, well, let's say a big ship, or a plane, or a football stadium. You know, it's fire on the football stadium. You know, someone didn't like the scores, so they put fire on the football stadium. And everybody has to be evacuated, okay? Then you have to make the greatest VR experience of that. And it must be with presence. You must believe it. Because it's only when they believe what's happening that they will remember what just happened. So that when it happens in real life, they have the memory. I've done this, I've done this before. I remember what happened. Okay, I did my training. Oil and gas, offshore safety training. I've done a lot of offshore safety training on film. Offshore safety training in VR is completely different. You know what the best part is? If you go into industries like this, you know what they have already in their safe somewhere, except for money, of course? They have 3D models of everything. Absolutely everything. Every screw and bolt and machinery and oil rig and accommodation is already made in 3D models. In reality. Yeah. So the only thing you need to do is to maybe scoop some polygons, texture it, light it, and then I can run around in an oil rig, yelling, "Fire, help me!" The worst thing is that offshore safety training, you have to do that. There are several training programs that you have to do, and you have to do them like once every second year. I don't know how it is down here, but in Norway that's how it is. So you have to do that fire exercise once every second year. You have to do the helicopter ditching, which is amazing. They strap you into a helicopter and they drop it over water, crash into water. What happens when a helicopter hits water? It flips upside down. So now you're upside down underneath water, and you're weightless, and so you have no idea of left and right. And you thought all the exit doors are on that side, but since you're upside down, it's on the other side. And it costs a shitload of money. It's like doing fire and smoke drills, running around in smoke labyrinths. It costs a lot of money to have every oil worker doing that every second year. You know what it costs in VR? Nothing. You build it once, you run it again and again and again and again, right? Imagine, I don't know what to call it, smoke diving, do you know what I mean? When you put on diver gear, like firemen do this. They go into smoke-filled areas, smoke-filled houses, and they have a breathing, Darth Vader apparatus in front of their face, right? And it's perfect for VR. Because that's what it is. You put on your diving mask and you're there. And then you put some smoke into it so that you can't see. And then you use all these qualities that we're talking about, the presence, the added presence with mapping the door handle here with the door in the VR world, so that when I grab out to grab that door, it's there. But in my reality, in my virtual reality, everything is on fire. In reality, it's just an empty house. Right? Imagine how much money I'm going to save. Well, if I'm going to save all that money over the next 20 years, then I'm willing to invest a lot of money to get it right the first time I'm doing it, right? And the oil industry, they had money. Schools, leadership education, customer service. Do you know that McDonald's have one of the best training courses for customer services? They have one video for how you wash the toilet. They have one video for how do you dress a hamburger. Well, they have one video for every hamburger, actually. And then they have one video for how to speak with customers when you're taking their money. How do you treat customers on drive-thru that are rude to you? They have all these videos. I think it's 150 videos altogether or something like that. Imagine doing that in VR. It'd be great. Instead of watching it on video while you're sleeping and eating a hamburger, you're actually standing in VR, experiencing it, learning, remembering. It's better. Okay, meditation, exposure therapy, you know what that is? It's like curing phobias and all that shit. And then you have pain management, is really nice. If you were a burn victim and your body is like aching because your skin is gone. So you have like 3 degrees burns all over. You were in a fire. I guess that fireman that was supposed to save you didn't have VR training. Anyway, so pain management is using VR to learn how to defocus from the real pain. And there's many ways of doing that. They've been experimenting with putting you in cold climates. So you're lying in a hospital bed, you're all burned up, but you put on your VR headset and you're on the North Pole. Great, it works actually. And then you have this funny thing, phantom limbs and phantom pains. You know what a phantom limb is? Yeah. So when you cut out your arm, you cut it off. You lost it in an accident. In your brain, it's still there. But the problem is, for many of them, is that the arm is standing out like that. And so they walk around in society with a mental image of an arm standing out like that. So when they go to sit in a car, they go like, yeah, wait a second. And they gotta sit in that car, right? So it's in the way. So all the time this arm is standing out. So by using VR, they can now train this. And what they do is that the movement of this arm with a virtual arm here. And so your brain is starting like, okay, my arm is back, everything is fine. And then after some time, you can train on having your arm down. And then you go out of VR, and yeah, you're still losing your arm, but it's down. It's great. VR is really helping in areas that we could never imagine. Surgery training, that's a good one. You can train on surgeries that you're supposed to do in a week from now, but you want to test, train it a couple of times, run it through to make sure that you get it right. Or another scenario is if you're trying to educate surgeons. Because right now it's like you have to join real surgery if you want to become a surgeon. The problem is that around the surgery table, around that patient with his tummy open or what's happening, there are already many people here standing around there, and they have work to do. And you're a student, so you're just gonna stand here peeking, looking into the wound, Is everything all right down there? Okay, I think so. And you only room for one. But the problem is that you have 50 students that all want to be great surgeons. Okay, then we have to keep, now it's your turn, and now it's your turn, and you'll try next week, and you'll try next month, and you'll try in a year. And you get 1 or 2 tries during your course. If we could use VR, we could give them all the pleasure of being there at the same time, or whenever they please. Travel is, of course, a simple one. Tourist industry, they want to, you want to test the product before you buy, basically. You want to see the pool area and the quality of your room before you buy a tourist trip to Venice. Or you can travel to places you don't have time to travel to, or money to travel to, or even health to travel to. A lot of people, they don't have the health to travel. And so now finally they can travel in VR. And that's a huge market. It's like everyone over 50 is starting saying, airplane, long trip, no, I don't want to sit in an airplane forever. I'll do it in VR.
Can be a killer also.
Yeah. So education, travel to learn a different culture. Imagine having a language course. I want to learn Italian. Great. You know what I'll do? I'll go to Italy in VR, right? And I'll sit at a table at a cafe and I'll practice my language. And what happens? Well, my memory, my brain, thinks it's real. So I'm learning quicker. And I'm learning the language as it's used in Italy, not on a cassette repeating in my ear, not in a book. No, I'm doing it in VR. So I get to see Italy and at the same time learn the language. And the whole module is built around people coming to me and talking to me. And I have to answer that. And they will correct me when I answer wrong. Right? Museums, they want to travel, or they want you to travel, and they want to travel back in time. So they want to travel to ancient Rome, or ancient Egypt, or whatever, to see the sights. Okay, Previs. Previs is, design, architecture, and engineering, and they want to do VR for anyone designing anything, anyone building anything, and anyone buying anything, which is quite logical. I mean, if you were to design an airplane, you would like to see that airplane that you were designing, right? So you're working on that. And it's already happening in the car industry. Audi is having a big engineering program going where they're using VR. I've been using VR for a long time, actually, for designing cars. And if you want to buy anything, I mean, if I were to buy an airplane, I would like to see it before I buy it. The problem is that the way it is now, it's like, no, you can't see it before you buy it, stupid, because we have to build it, and we can't build it before you give us the money. So first you give us the money, or half, and then we build it, and then you can say if you like it or not. Which is dumb. It's really, really dumb. So anyone buying anything will love VR. And again, it's really, really simple, because the drawing, or the 3D model, or that plane, or that oil rig, or that ship, or that anything is already there. So the only thing you have to do is charge them, stick prices, texture it, light it, put it into real life, and make a locomotion system so you can walk around and see how your plane is from the inside, or the outside. Yep. I don't go through that, but there's a lot, it's like, okay, car, ships, planes, trains, interior design, exterior design, sculptures, power plants, whatever. Social VR, we have talked about that. One thing I want to stress is teleconferencing and data collecting, of course. It's Facebook or anything else. They want to collect your data, but they're doing it in a different way in VR. And of course, infrastructure. When you go into a world where VR is integrated, you need a system to move around. Now we have Google, we search in Google and we go through the internet. When this whole thing turns VR, you need to log in somewhere so that you can, walk the roads, go to the shops, meet some friends at a bench, talk with them, then go and see a cinema together, then, maybe go to a different shop and buy a car.
It's going to be like a
yeah, it's going to be strange, I guess, but it's definitely going to be. Someone has to provide the infrastructure for the VR world. And it will be these guys here doing it. Then you have e-commerce, which basically is everything shopping online. It will also be a part of the social network. But fashion is big. The fashion industry is so much bigger than only purses and shoes. And as you remember, purses and shoes and watches were like, what was that? Times 4 of the gaming market or something like that. VR shopping centers are going to be built. Who's going to design the first VR shopping center? I mean, that could be you. Sit down and design how the VR shopping center is going to work, then starting renting out places, renting out space for shopping. But even better, just build it and then go to Facebook and say, I built this. And they will say, oh, we have this program, you fit right in there. And then you work for them and they will buy your model in addition to that. So you get a lot of money. Luxury items is definitely a part of. Do you know that luxury items are something that we search the most for on Google? Google just came up with some numbers saying that the more something costs, or the more stupid it is to buy it, the more you research it. So you kind of know that getting a handbag for 10,000 kroner or $10,000 is really dumb. So you research it a couple of times extra before you buy it, hoping that the added fictive value on top of that is going to make it worth it. So and now with VR, instead of just searching on Google, you can actually try it. So you put on your VR headset and you can try your luxury item. The cool thing is, as you put that watch on your arm, you know what happens? Suddenly there's this lady going, wow. And you feel like, wow, I could really feel that added value. I could feel that. I gotta buy that watch, So that's definitely going to happen. Yeah, shopping for your home. If you buy a house in the future, the architect will provide you with a 3D object of the house. That 3D object will be uploaded to the platform where you want to buy furniture. And then you sit in your living room couch with your VR headset on, and then you pick furniture and try to fit it inside your room. So you're actually sitting in your real living room, inside VR in your fake living room, buying a new couch or a TV, and it will fit perfectly. Yeah, added value, I talked so much about that. But, yeah, it's more than games, definitely. It's not only games. I just run off here with a couple of things. I just want to say that, I kind of envy you guys for being part of an industry that is bigger than what you could ever possibly imagine. I wish it was me back then when I was younger. Yes, I want to see, and I also want to say thank you because VR is cradled by gaming industry and the gamers and the developers. So it's like you're the first people to the moon. You do all the groundwork, you do all the hard work. You're figuring out what is right and what is wrong, what works, what doesn't work. And when you figure all that out, the market opens and everyone else has started making money. So make sure that you also make some money. Yeah. Yeah, so just remember that, gaming is a small part of it, and the rest of it is quite a big part of it. The hype cycle. Have you seen the hype cycle before? Okay. So VR is currently, this is brand new data, it's from July 2015. We are here, which is a great place to be, because it means that you survived, It starts here, a really tough birth, and you have all these labels, paints, and shit. And then you come up here, and everybody's going like, "Oh yeah, he's so cute, he's beautiful, he's the best baby, you know. This baby will be, he will be a superstar. He's so fucking fantastic." And then it dawns on you, no, actually it didn't work all, and it was all these diapers, and you had to change diapers, and he never sleeps at night, and it's terrible, and there's a lot of reasons why you should never have gotten that baby. And then finally, it becomes a reality, and that's where we are now. And this is the slope of enlightenment, and that's where we're going to grow this market. And it kind of proves that everything's okay, we did fine, we are definitely going to happen. We are, it's starting now. So 2016 will be a great year. Investors have some doubts. And the doubt that investors have about the VR market today is basically this. How can I explain this? Researchers, technology giants, Oculus, and everybody, they develop stuff, they put it into production, they market it, and they try to push it on the audience. The truth is that, no one has tried VR, so there's no need for it. They don't know what to expect, they don't know that they need it, right? So most consumers in the street, they will go like, "Oh, it's expensive, it's $15,000, it's $1,500 to get your headset and your computer up and running for VR. That's a lot of money. And you don't have a need for it." So the problem is, if they do like the luxury brands, they will start adding value to the VR headset, so when you put it on, all the naked women coming, all that. They won't do that, but they have this problem, and the investors knows about this. So the investors hate this, because it means that you have to push out for a market that doesn't need it. But what you really want is a market that has expressed that they need something, and then it goes feedback back to research and development, and production, and marketing, and finally they get the product that they asked for in the first place. And we're not there at all. In consumer VR, we're not there. But it's not quite true, because a lot of the companies that we're working with, which are not consumer VR, they're oil companies, they are, medical companies. They've been using VR since the first time around. They started using VR back in the 80s when it just emerged. And they've been sticking with it. But it's been extremely expensive, and they've been using it in a low scale. But it's not a strange idea for them. They actually know what it is. I remember back in 1999 or something like that, I was doing a piece for an offshore seismic graphic company. And they had their own VR system called HoloSeis, where you can walk into a room and you can look around and you were inside an oil field. And the whole idea was to plan how do you drain an oil field, because an oil field is like full of structures and whatnots, and you have to get your piping in the right place to get all the oil. And so, yeah, they've been developing that into a great system. And that was like way before Oculus or anything. But it's the oil industry, they have the money for it. And it's systems that cost so much and are so big, you need a big room for it to run it. Yeah.
Yes. Always talking about the hardware when we mean production.
When you mean production?
Yes.
I mean, when I'm talking about production, I'm talking about content.
Okay.
Right?
Because the need is the content.
The need is the content, definitely. But if you never tried VR, I mean, we've done this a couple of times. In the office, you take something, you take this guy, and he's brilliant. And he's an architect or a designer, and he's the greatest mind, right? Brilliant guy. And you take him into the office, and you start talking about VR, and he's like, "Yeah, VR, I heard about that, that's quite cool. Yeah, okay, I get it. And you look at him and you go, "No, you don't get it." And then you put a VR headset on him, and suddenly he's in a Paris flat. And he goes like, "Wow, oh, this is amazing, think about the opportunities and the possibilities. And he's like, you know, really losing his ground control. So he didn't get it. Even though you tried to explain it, he was like, yeah, I heard about that, that's cool.
He was blind.
To try it first.
Yeah, you have to try. And so you have to take every opportunity we have to take a VR headset and shove it up to somebody's face and say, try this. And they have to try to understand it. Because, yeah, of course, intellectual, I can understand it. But the feeling of VR, it's lived. It's the experience. It's not the technical explanation of, yeah, it's in stereo, and yeah, you turn your head around and you see stuff around you. That's not VR. So yeah, everybody has high expectations about VR, but VR isn't a solution for a specific user problem or user demand, except from in big industries. But they are not, so this is consumer related, but there's a lot of use case scenarios for bigger industries, and they know what VR is. And then most people haven't tried VR, and they don't know what to expect. And if they don't know what to expect, they can't express their need. And so you end up with a market with no need, and you try to push hardware and content into a market that doesn't really get it. Okay, so now we're down to just a few things about some projects that we're doing. We're helping Norway selling more salmon in Turkey and in Japan, and you know. So the whole idea is that, you know, a fish is a fish is a fish. So you go into a shop and you're going to buy salmon, and it's, okay, so this salmon is from what? Chile, and this is from Scotland, and this is from Norway. Okay, which one am I going to choose? I'll choose the cheapest one. No, you won't. No, because the Norwegian salmon, it comes from the deep fjords of Norway. Crystal clear waters, you know, no pollution. You know, the Arctic Circle, you know, it's fantastic. And so what we're doing is that we take a Japanese guy standing in a Japanese supermarket, and we want to recruit him as a disciple for Norwegian salmon, because when he tells his friends, they will listen to him, right? So you just put on a VR headset, and he's magically teleported to a fjord in the north of Norway. And he's going like, wow. And the best thing is that when in front of him, there's a railing so that he won't fall into the water. And he goes one step forward, and he grabs that railing, and you have that true presence feeling, and that view, and you can see all the fish jumping around. That's all he needs. Now he knows that the Norwegian salmon is way different from that Chilean shit or Canadian shit or anything. It's way different. No, it's not. It's just that the promotion was different. So we made this project for OD. This was our first project, and it was really, really simple. Because OD, guess what? They had a model, a 3D model of a car that they had engineered, and they just wanted to make a simple presentation where you put on the headset, and you're in the car. And then we took a company in Norway called Making View that specializes in 360 video. We took that car, the model of the car, we placed it into a video, we wanted to bubble, a 360 video, and that 360 video was driving up a hillside. So when you're sitting in the car, and you look out the window, you see the world flying by, you look up through the sunroof, you see the sun there, and it's perfect, you know, it's worked brilliantly. But on a conceptual level, it's a luxury car in a video bubble. That's it. I'm not going to tell you if we made money on it or not, but it was worth a lot for all. And this is the last project that we're working on, together with the Cancer Association and Samsung. And this is another one of those Samsung Gear projects where Samsung actually just want to promote the Gear headset. And so for Samsung, it's really important that they can tell that technology is helping people, making life better. So short story of the case. In Norway every year, it's probably the same in Turkey, only you have more people. Norway is 4.5 million people, so not that many people.
20,000.
Yeah. So in Norway, 25 kids every year get a cancer form. That means that you have to kill their immune system, because you need to give them a bone marrow transplantation. So as you kill their immune system, they become really susceptible to any illness or infection, and it will actually kill them. You know, getting the flu, you're dead. So what they do is that they take 25 kids every year and put them in an extreme isolation chamber. So it's goodbye to mom and dad, goodbye to all your friends, goodbye to school. Get into that chamber and stay there for 6 weeks. After 6 weeks, we'll move you to your room in your house at home. But the whole house has to be sterilized, and it has to be only your family living there. So you can have no visitors or nothing for 6 months. So 6 weeks, then 6 months. So the case we're doing for Samsung is that we're meeting these families. They're telling their story about everything was good. We had a fine, happy life. And then suddenly she started coughing, and she had fever. We thought it was a flu. And then we came down to the office of the doctor, and the doctor told us, she got cancer. Your kid, she's 12 years old and she got cancer. And so they put her in the chamber. Then after a couple of weeks, when she's feeling better, she's getting a Samsung Gear VR headset. And the cool thing is that we are doing a video conference rig in 360 at her home house. So she's at the hospital, and the family's at home, and they're making dinner. And it's like, the one thing you miss when your life is upside down and nothing is normal, the one thing you miss is family and normal. So the kid is sitting there. The kid is sitting there. She puts on her Gear VR, and she looks around, and she's at the dinner table. And as she looks down, the front-facing camera kicks in, and she can see her plate and her drink with a straw. And when she looks up, she sees the video conference, which is there's father there, mother there, her brother, the dog is running around. And suddenly everything feels normal. And you start talking with each other and laughing, and it's great. The only problem is that we need an extreme bandwidth to do this type of video conference. So you're getting it for one day. It's that one gym. But it proves the concept. And it makes a great video for Samsung Gear VR and blah, blah, blah. That was my presentation. 2016 will be a great year. Thank you.